Hi everybody, welcome, and I'm going to show you in 5 minutes how to turn this photo into something really special in post-production. So we're in Lightroom Classic, and the first thing that I usually do when I edit any wildlife photos is look at the composition. So firstly, we can immediately see if we go into our crop tool that it's slightly smaller section on the right of this Lion Cub than to the left. So let's just correct that a little bit, bring that in and not too much. And the same at the top. You want to keep the top and the bottom roughly the same as well, so keep an eye on that. Now you've done that, you stay in your crop section and you'll see a little curve arrow at the bottom, and you just straighten it a little bit, and there you go. So keep an eye on your histogram, but top shadows and blacks on the left and your whites and your highlights on the right, and you want that beautiful histogram going right up into the middle like it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to underexpose slightly because I'm going to bring out some colors a little bit later. And now what I want to do is I'm going to go all the way down to the details tab where there's masking. I'm going to press the option button on my keyboard and then drag the slider, and everything that is in black now is going to be affected with what I do after this. So I'm going to keep it like that. And I like to do this right in the beginning because then personally I just feel it makes subtle changes that you don't have to do later on. So now I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my highlights and bring that down a little bit. Then I'm going to go into whites. I'm going to again press my option key. I'm going to push that option, that slider up until you see all the white coming up. And this is basically called clipping. So what you want to do is take it just before the whites pop out. And you do the same with the black. Press your option key and go to opposite side. You'll see the blacks come up. And you take it down just to before the blacks start to show themselves. Okay, so there we go. So if you press Y, you can already see a subtle change there. What we want to do now is look at our contrast. So we have our contrast slider. I do not like to touch that too much because it's not very accurate. I go to the tone curves, and in that white dot section you go to point curve and you just tap onto medium. There it makes a very kind of AI, almost helps you a little bit to get the perfect contrast. Now what I do is I go into my masking tools. So the first thing I'll do is I'll grab a radial mask, and I'll do an elongated radial mask so that I cover the cub, and then I invert it, and then I bring down the exposures to create a little bit of a vignette just to let the cub pop a little bit. But you don't want to do it too much because otherwise it just looks like a white circle in the middle. Okay, so that's the first thing you do. Then what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to go back into my masking tools. I'm going to grab the object mask and I'm going to paint my subject, and this should create a beautiful mask right around my subject. Why I do this? Now I'm actually going to play with the lights and the darks again. I am going to bring up my highlights a little bit and my whites a little bit just to make it pop, and I'm actually going to bring my blacks down subtly. Now you can already see again, just look at that change in the photo already looks super cool. Okay, we're going to stay on mask, but we're going to zoom into our Lion Cub a little bit more. There we go. And I'm going to go onto my brush tool. So what you want to do with Predator specifically is you can use the iris, which is the color part of the eye, and you can enhance it a little bit. So with lines it's usually like a yellowish color, and I'm going to just bring it up a little bit, bring up the highlights slightly, a little bit of the whites. Let's just do that exposure a little bit more, but you don't want to do it too much because otherwise very quickly the eyes become unnatural, and that's what you don't want. Now, a key thing with wildlife photography and eyes is catch light. Always want to look for the catch light in the eyes of your subject. So catch light is basically those little glimmers that you see on top of the pupils, usually kind of in the corners or on the top of the eye, and you're just going to highlight them a little bit, and you're going to enhance them just to make them pop a little bit more. And there you can see, look at that. So let's just go back and forth. Already that is an amazing difference. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do what they call a pancake method. So I'm going to use a linear gradient. I'm going to press shift and then drag my linear gradient up. If you press shift, it holds a solid horizontal line. Oopsie, let's just to undo that. Let's try that one more time. There we go. And I'm just going to make the foreground a little bit darker. Now you can do that as well with the top, but we don't have a lot of space to work with there. but that's why they call it a pancake method. It just kind of almost compresses the subject, the center mass, where your focus is on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another radial mask, and I'm just going to put it right into the center of the cub's face. And now what I want to do is I am going to bring out some detail. So I'm going to put the texture up to 10. There we go. Clarity 10. And then the sharpness I'm going to bring up to about 25. There you can see how it's already really made everything pop really, really nicely. And that is basically a very quick fire edit of how you can take your photo from this to this. Hope you enjoy. See you out in the field.